Hello again, everybody. I'm Matt Robinson, and welcome to another exciting edition of the program. This is the program where we get you caught up on anything and everything happening around the NBA. Coming up on this edition of the program, we'll recap the 2025 NBA All-Star Weekend in the San Francisco Bay Area and so much more. Stay tuned. It's going to be a great show as we get you ready for the second half of the 2024, I should say, 2025 NBA season. All right, as always, I like to start off with talking about my top three storylines. I want to start off talking about Victor Wembanyama. So Victor, after several days earlier playing in his 2025 NBA All-Star game, his first selection, the San Antonio Spurs have announced that Wemby will be shut down for the remainder of the year after discovering a blood clot in his right shoulder. The condition is called DVT, deep vein thrombosis. So Wemby, again, it was discussed. Wemby has a blood clot in his right shoulder, and the Spurs are gonna shut him down for the remainder of the year. And man, this is tough because we're in the beginning of the second half of the NBA regular season, and Wemby was on a roll, man, and the Spurs had an opportunity to get a spot in the play-in tournament, maybe even a possibility of them getting a playoff spot. And that's tough because you talk about one of the guys that is expected to be one of the faces of the NBA whenever LeBron, Steph, and KD decide to hang it up. But man, that's a tough break for the San Antonio Spurs. So now that leaves it up now to the veteran Chris Paul. That also leaves it up now to Stephon Castle, Jeremy Sohan, also Keldon Johnson. And that is some big shoes to fill. But once again, the San Antonio Spurs have announced that they're going to shut down Victor Wembanyama for the remainder of the regular season after discovering a blood clot in his right shoulder. And again, Wemby just several days earlier played in his first NBA All-Star game, also was a part of the NBA All-Star Weekend festivities and the skills competition with Chris Paul representing the Spurs. And man, again, this is going to be a tough one for San Antonio. That's definitely some big shoes to fill. And there's going to be a lot of work on San Antonio, particularly, the gentleman that I mentioned with Chris Paul, Keldon Johnson, also Jeremy Sohan, and Stephon Castle and company. My next storyline is going to be Bobby Portis. So Milwaukee Bucks forward Bobby Portis, according to ESPN's Shams Charania, the NBA has suspended Portis for 25 games for violating the league's anti-drug policy. Now, there was a statement that was released from Priority Sports, who represents Portis, and the CEO, Mark Bartelstein, says, quote, "I am devastated for Bobby right now because he made an honest mistake, and the ramifications of it are incredibly significant. Bobby unintentionally took a pain medication called Tramadol, thinking he was taking a pain medication called Toradol. Toradol is an approved pain medication that he has used previously and that teams and players use for pain and inflammation at times. Tramadol, however, is not an approved pain medication and was just recently added to the banned substance list this past spring. The Tramadol pill he took came from an assistant of his with a valid prescription for the painkiller, which he mistakenly told Bobby was Toradol. This was, again, an honest mistake that was made because of the similarity in the names of the drugs and the fact that both serve a very similar purpose. Bobby was using this anti-inflammatory pain-reducing medication to deal with an elbow injury that he had this past fall and believed he was taking Toradol to alleviate some pain in preparation for that night's game. Bobby is a great person, teammate, and professional, and has a wonderful reputation in our league, his communities, and his team. There are no bigger fans of the NBA than Bobby and I, and we are grateful to have closely and collaboratively worked with the NBA on countless occasions. We support the league's anti-drug policy and its purpose in having a fair, competitive, healthy landscape for our athletes as it relates to drugs of abuse, performance-enhancing issues, etc." End quote. All right, so that was a statement from Priority Sports CEO Mark Bartelstein. That's the company that represents Bobby. All right, so let this be a lesson learned. As you heard me read in this statement that came from Bartelstein, where Bobby unintentionally took a pain medication called Tramadol, thinking he was taking Toradol. Professional athletes and even human beings should know what they're putting in their body, what they're taking, what medications they are, even if it's from a trusted assistant or somebody that you can trust for the most part. And you have to know what you're putting in your body at all times. And unfortunately, this is a sad thing because, as you know, Bobby Portis is one of the best players in the NBA, one of the most underrated players in the league, and he's been one of my favorite players for quite some time. But man, you just have to know again what you're putting into your body, and you have to know, as I stated earlier, whether it's a trusted assistant or somebody that works for the Milwaukee Bucks or even a person that's on team personnel. You still have to know at all times what you're putting in your body, and this is so unfortunate that this happened to him. But this is the last statement from Mark Bartelstein from Priority Sports. He says, quote, Bobby loves being a part of the NBA and he loves being a role model and a true ambassador for the Bucks in the city of Milwaukee. This has been incredibly difficult for him, but he will accept this penalty with grace and turn this into a great opportunity to improve and further build his reputation and performance in every way, both on and off the court. End quote. All right. So as you heard from Mark Bartelstein from Priority Sports, his client Bobby is willing to accept the punishment. Again, the NBA is suspending Bobby Portis for 25 games as a result of violating the league's anti-drug policy. So Bobby's taking accountability for it, but I know this is a lesson that Bobby will learn from this, and he'll know that once again, you have to know what's going into your body. You got to know what you're taking to alleviate some pain or alleviate some stress from whatever is going on, nagging injuries and etc. He's got to remember that next time. And for my last storyline is going to be the 2025 NBA All-Star Weekend. So the NBA All-Star Weekend, we had a celebrity game that was pretty good. We had a Rising Stars challenge that was pretty good as well. We had a skills challenge that was marred by a disqualification with Chris Paul and Victor Wembanyama with the San Antonio Spurs. However, we saw Cleveland do their thing in this particular competition with Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley. We saw a three-point contest that saw Tyler Hero do his thing, and there was no three-peat from Damian Lillard. And we saw a slam dunk contest that was just a snoozer. However, Mac McClung has been the one that has saved the slam dunk contest the last 3 years. And then we had an all-star game that was not good, that was not great, but it was decent. And I think they should go back to the East versus West. But hey, that's just me. But nevertheless, the NBA All-Star Weekend was in the San Francisco Bay Area. Looked like it was a pretty good turnout, and so significant because this is going to be the last NBA All-Star Weekend that will be on TNT. However, TNT will continue to carry on with their Inside the NBA program. They'll do highlights, and they have a licensing deal with ABC and ESPN. But so after this one, starting in 2026, NBC will have the NBA All-Star Weekend once again. So again, this was a tough one. I mean, I know they're trying to revamp the All-Star game, trying to make it more fun again, but I get what they were trying to do with the team Team Chuck with the Global All-Stars, Team Shaq with the OGs. You also had Team Kenny with the youngsters, and then you also had Candace Parker, Team Candace with the Team Rising Stars. But I don't know. They're going to have to debate. I think they need to go back to the East versus West format. But again, that's just me, though. But nevertheless, the NBA All-Star Weekend has been completed and is one in the books in the San Francisco Bay Area. All right, so that takes care of that. Now let's recap the 2025 NBA All-Star Weekend. So on Friday night, we had the NBA All-Star Weekend celebrity game, and we had Team Bonds going up against Team Rice, which was Team Barry Bonds going up against Jerry Rice. And Team Bonds consisted of Kai Cenat, who is a popular online streamer, influencer, YouTuber. Also, you had former NBA player Baron Davis. Also, you had actors Rome Flynn, Danny Ramirez, also Pablo Schreiber, and also Dylan Wong. Also, you had WNBA player Rakia Jackson, who plays for the Los Angeles Sparks. You also had singer-songwriters Noah Kahn and also Mickey Guyton. You also had musician Tucker Halpern, and you also had Danny Ramirez on the team, who's another actor. And you also had Olympic sprinter Masai Russell. Of course, the head coach of the team was Barry Bonds, and the assistant coach was Two Chains. And as for Team Rice, you had a former NBA player, Matt Barnes. Also, you had former NFL player, T.O. Terrell Owens. You also had current WNBA player, Kayla Thornton, who will be playing for the new team in the Bay, which is the Golden State Valkyries. Also, you have actors, Oliver Stark. You also had a comedian, actor, and influencer, Drewski. And you also had singer-songwriters, A.P. Dillon, also Walker Hayes, and Shabuzi was also on the team. You also had Olympic high jumper Shelby McEwen, and you also had a professional wrestler, a WWE superstar, Bailey, on the team as well. And you had basketball trainer Chris Brickley. And of course, the head coach of Team Rice was former NFL great Jerry Rice, and the assistant coach was Kabi Lame. And in the end, Team Bonds would beat Team Rice 66-55. And of course, the MVP of the celebrity game was Rome Flynn. And now the next competition we had on that same night was the Rising Stars Challenge, where you had Team Chris, which was coached by Chris Mullen, and his team was Stephon Castle from the San Antonio Spurs, also Ryan Dunn from the Phoenix Suns, Zach Edey from the Memphis Grizzlies, Keontae George from the Utah Jazz, Trace Jackson Davis from the Golden State Warriors, Dalton Connect from the Los Angeles Lakers, and Jalen Wells from the Memphis Grizzlies. And you had Team Mitch, coached by Mitch Richmond, and on his team was Modest Buzelis from the Chicago Bulls, also Tamani Kamara from the Portland Trailblazers, Bob Carrington from the Washington Wizards, also from the Washington Wizards, Bilal Coulibaly, Scoot Henderson from the Portland Trailblazers, and you had the Thompson twins, Amon and Asar. Amon represents the Rockets, and Asar represents the Detroit Pistons. Team Tim, coached by Tim Hardaway, you had representing the Orlando Magic, Anthony Black and Tristan Da Silva. From the Toronto Raptors, you had Grady Dick. From the Miami Heat, you had Jaime Jaquez Jr. You had from the Golden State Warriors, Brandon Pachimsky, and you had the number 1 and the number 2 overall picks in this year's NBA draft. From the Atlanta Hawks, you had Zachary Risache, and you had from the Washington Wizards, Alex Sarr. And then you had Team G League, coached by Jeremy Lin. You had J.D. Davidson from the Maine Celtics, also Bryce McGowens from the Rip City Remix, Leonard Miller from the Iowa Wolves, Dink Pate from the Mexico City Capitans, Reed Shepard from the Rio Grande Valley Vipers, Pat Spencer from the Santa Cruz Warriors, and representing the Osceola Magic, the slam dunk champion, Mac McClung. So in the finals, it was Team Chris going up against Team G League, and Team Chris would go on to win 25-14. So Team Chris would take part in the All-Star game on Sunday in the semifinal. So we move ahead now to All-Star Saturday night, where we had the Skills Challenge, where we had the Cleveland Cavaliers representing that team was Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley. Team Cavs going up against Team Rooks, Zachary Risache and Alex Sarr, going up against Team Spurs, Chris Paul and Victor Wembanyama, and Team Warriors, Moses Moody and Draymond Green. After as I stated earlier in the show, in the first round, Chris Paul and Victor Wembanyama were both disqualified due to Wemby taking a shot too early in the skipping a course in the competition. So as a result of that, they were disqualified. So in the finals, we had Team Cavs going up against Team Warriors. And in the end, it was Team Cavs in a very dominating performance by Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley to give Team Cavs the Skills Challenge championship. Then we had the three-point contest. We had Tyler Hero from the Miami Heat, Buddy Hield from the Golden State Warriors. We had Darius Garland from the Cleveland Cavaliers. We had Jalen Brunson from the New York Knicks. We had Cade Cunningham from the Detroit Pistons. We had Cameron Johnson from the Brooklyn Nets. and Norman Powell from the Los Angeles Clippers. And we had the defending two-time champion coming into this contest, Damian Lillard from the Milwaukee Bucks. So Dame Dollar did not three-peat because in the first round, Tyler Hero, Buddy Hield, and Darius Garland all advanced. And it was a close final round, but it came down to the wire. But Tyler Hero would go on to win the three-point contest. In the final round, he shot 24 three-pointers. Buddy Hield finished with the score of 23. Darius Garland finished with a score of 19. So again, congratulations to Tyler Hero for winning the three-point contest. And then we had the slam dunk contest where we had Stephon Castle from the San Antonio Spurs, Andre Jackson from the Milwaukee Bucks, Modest Buzelis from the Chicago Bulls. And we had the defending two-time champion from the Orlando Magic, Mac McClung. The slam dunk contest has been a snoozer for a long time, but the last 3 years, Mac McClung has been the one that's really brought the slam dunk contest back to some sort of significance. And this contest, he was just sensational. You talking about doing dunks over Kias, getting help from friends, and getting help with a ladder and so on and so forth. I mean, the creativity was just through the roof. And I'm not showing my age, but I remember when the slam dunk contest was always the highlight of the All-Star weekend. But in recent decades, it's been the opposite. It's been the three-point contest has been the highlight. But as I stated earlier, the slam dunk contest has been a snoozer for a long time now. But the last 3 years, Mac McClung has brought it back to some sort of significance, has given it some sort of attention again. The first round, 50s across the board. The final round, same result, 50s across the board from all five judges. And Mac McClung becomes now a three-time slam dunk champion. And man, I got to tell you, if you had a chance, if you didn't watch it, it was definitely one you would have loved to have seen, especially seeing with Mac McClung and the creativity that he had in his dunks. And then Sunday, we had the All-Star game in a new format where we had Team Chuck with his global stars. Pascal Siakam from the Indiana Pacers, Nikola Jokic from the Denver Nuggets, Karl Anthony Towns from the New York Knicks, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander from the Oklahoma City Thunder, Donovan Mitchell from the Cleveland Cavaliers, also Alperen Sengun from the Houston Rockets, Victor Wembanyama from the San Antonio Spurs. Now, Giannis Antetokounmpo did not play, so his replacement was Trae Young from the Atlanta Hawks. And for Charles Barkley's team, the head coach of the Chuck's Global Stars was Mark Daigneault from the Oklahoma City Thunder. And then we had Shaq's OGs. That was Shaquille O'Neal's team. And his team was Jason Tatum from the Boston Celtics, Kevin Durant representing the Phoenix Suns. We had Stephen Curry from the Golden State Warriors, James Harden from the Los Angeles Clippers, Damian Lillard from the Milwaukee Bucks. We also had Jaylen Brown from the Boston Celtics. So Anthony Davis was selected, did not play due to injury. LeBron James was selected. He was a late scratch. So LeBron's replacement was Kyrie Irving. And the head coach of Shaq's OGs was Kenny Atkinson. And then we had Team Kenny, which was Kenny's young stars, with Jaren Jackson Jr. from the Memphis Grizzlies, Evan Mobley from the Cleveland Cavaliers, Jalen Williams from the Oklahoma City Thunder, Jalen Brunson from the New York Knicks, Tyler Hero from the Miami Heat. And you had Darius Garland representing the Cleveland Cavaliers and Cade Cunningham from the Detroit Pistons. And Anthony Edwards did not play due to injury. And the head coach of Kenny's Young Stars was Dave Bliss. And then Candace's Rising Stars, that's Candace Parker's team. And on Candace's team, of course, was Stephon Castle representing the Spurs, Zach Edey from the Grizzlies, also Keontae George representing the Jazz, also Dalton Connect from the Los Angeles Lakers, also Jalen Wells from the Memphis Grizzlies, and then we had Ryan Dunn from the Phoenix Suns, also Trace Jackson Davis from the Golden State Warriors, and Amen Thompson from the Houston Rockets, and Jordan Ott was the head coach of the Candace's Rising Stars. So in the semifinals, in the first game, with the young stars going up against the global stars. The global stars would win 41-32. And then in the second game, with the rising stars going up against the OGs would beat the rising stars 42-35. So we had a Bay Area star-studded halftime show. You had DJ Cassidy, you had E40 performed, also you had Too Short, followed by Saweetie and In Vogue. They did their thing as well. And even during the player introductions, Raphael Sadiq. I mean, it was just the Bay Area really shined during the player introductions and during the halftime show. So when we came back from the halftime show, we had an interesting finish in the in well, not an interesting finish, but in the championship game, it was just complete domination from the OGs, Team Chuck. That is, it was I'm sorry, not Team Chuck, it was Team Shaq. The OGs represented by Team Shaq, Shaquille O'Neal going up against the Global Stars represented by Team Chuck, Charles Barkley. The OGs did their thing, winning the All Star championship game, 41-25. Steph Curry, you know about his pedigree, right? Being with the Golden State Warriors, being a fixture in the Bay for decades, was named the All-Star MVP. And this is Steph's second time being an All-Star MVP. And right, I mean, hey, it was in the Bay this year. It was at that brand new arena, downtown San Francisco. You know he was going to show up and show out, and he showed out in a major way, especially in this the championship game and the brand new All-Star format that they had. Thought it was okay. Think they need to go back to East versus West, but Steph, nevertheless, he showed up, did his thing in a major way, did his thing, and hey, winds up earning the MVP of this year's All-Star game. This is his second All-Star game MVP, and certainly congratulations to Steph on just continuing to do his thing. And I tell you one thing, he has no signs of slowing down anytime soon. So Shaquille O'Neal, Team Shaq, hey, he's got Team OGs, I should say, gonna be bragging rights for the remainder of the year. Charles Barkley and the Global Stars, I know it's going to be interesting on that set on Inside the NBA whenever Shaq and Chuck get back to work, man. It's certainly going to be something that I know Shaq is gonna rag him about that for quite some time. But again, in the finals of the new All-Star format for this year, Shaq's OGs would be Chuck's Global Stars 41-25, and Steph Curry would win All-Star Game MVP. All right, now let's give you the current league leaders before we march right into the second half of the season. Let's start off with points per game. The current leading scorer in the association is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander from the Oklahoma City Thunder. He's averaging 32.5 points per game. At number 2, Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's averaging 31 points per game. Coming in at number 3, Nikola Jokic is third. He's averaging almost 30 points per game. Coming in at fourth is Tyrese Maxey from the Philadelphia 76ers, and in fifth from the Minnesota Timberwolves, Anthony Edwards. Next category is going to be rebounds per game. At number 1 from the Sacramento Kings, Domantas Sabonis. He's averaging close to 15 rebounds per game. At number 2 from the New York Knicks, Karl Anthony Towns. At number 3, Ivica Zubac from the Los Angeles Clippers. At number 4 from the Denver Nuggets, Nikola Jokic. And at number 5, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Next category is going to be assists per game. At number 1 from the Atlanta Hawks, Ice Trae Young. He's averaging close to 12 assists per game. At number 2, Nikola Jokic. At number 3 from the Detroit Pistons, Cade Cunningham. Coming in at number 4, LeBron James from the Los Angeles Lakers. And in fifth from the Los Angeles Clippers, James Harden. Next category is going to be steals per game. At number 1 from the Atlanta Hawks, Dyson Daniels. He's averaging 3 steals per game. Actually tied for second, we have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Tyrese Maxey. And then tied for fourth, we have Nikola Jokic and Cason Wallace from the Oklahoma City Thunder. Next category is going to be blocks per game. At number 1 from the San Antonio Spurs, Victor Wembanyama. He's averaging close to 4 steals per game. At number 2 from the Utah Jazz, Walker Kessler. At number 3 from the Dallas Mavericks, Anthony Davis. At number 4, actually tied for fourth from the Milwaukee Bucks, Brook Lopez, and from the Dallas Mavericks, Daniel Gafford. Next category is going to be field goal percentage. At number 1 from the Utah Jazz, Walker Kessler. He's shooting 71% from the field. At number 2 from the Cleveland Cavaliers, Jared Allen. At number 3 from the Dallas Mavericks, Daniel Gafford. At number 4, Jalen Duren from the Detroit Pistons. At number 5 from the Minnesota Timberwolves, Rudy Gobert. Next category is going to be free throw percentage. At number 1 from the Golden State Warriors, Stephen Curry. He's shooting 92% from the free throw line. At number 2 from the Milwaukee Bucks, Damian Lillard. At number 3, Amir Coffey from the Los Angeles Clippers. At number 4 from the Portland Trailblazers, Anthony Simons. And at number 5 from the Dallas Mavericks, Kyrie Irving. Next category is going to be three-point percentage. At number 1 from the Memphis Grizzlies, Luke Kennard. He's shooting 47% from three-point range. At number 2, Seth Curry. And then we have at number 3, Taurean Prince from the Milwaukee Bucks. And at number 4, Domantas Sabonis. And at number 5, Nikola Jokic. And the last category is going to be minutes per game. At number 1 from the New York Knicks, Mikal Bridges. He's averaging 38 minutes per game. At number 2, Tyrese Maxey. At number 3, Josh Hart. At number 4 from the Phoenix Suns, Devin Booker. And at number 5 from the San Antonio Spurs, De'Aaron Fox. And that takes care of your current league leaders in the association. All right, let's move over now to the current standings in the NBA. Let's start off in the Eastern Conference. Currently at number 1, the Cleveland Cavaliers. They have a record of 44 wins and 10 losses. Coming in second are the Boston Celtics with a record of 39 and 16. Coming in at number 3, the New York Knicks with a record of 36 and 18. At number 4, the Indiana Pacers. They have a record of 30 and 23. At number 5, the Milwaukee Bucks. They have a record of 29 and 24. The next, we have the Detroit Pistons with a record of 29 and 26. And then coming in seventh place are the Orlando Magic with a record of 27 and 29, followed by the Atlanta Hawks with a record of 26 and 29. The Miami Heat are next with a record of 25 and 28. And then in 10th place are the Chicago Bulls with a record of 22 and 33. And then the rest of the Eastern Conference has Philadelphia in 11th, followed by Brooklyn in 12th, followed by Toronto, Charlotte, and then in last place are the Washington Wizards. Let's move over now to the Western Conference. In first place, the Oklahoma City Thunder. They have a record of 44 and 10, followed by the Memphis Grizzlies with a record of 36 and 18. Denver is next with a record of 36 and 19. The Houston Rockets are next with a record of 34 and 21. The Los Angeles Lakers are in fifth with a record of 32 and 21. The Los Angeles Clippers are sixth with a record of 31 and 23, followed by the Minnesota Timberwolves in seventh with a record of 31 and 25. The Dallas Mavericks are next with a record of 30 and 26. Coming in ninth place are the Sacramento Kings with a record of 28 and 27. And then the Golden State Warriors come in 10th with a record of 28 and 27. And then finishing out the rest of the West is Phoenix coming in 11th, followed by San Antonio in 12th, and then Portland, and then Utah, and then New Orleans is in last place in the Western Conference. So the second half of the season is underway. And before I just make my predictions and give you my outlook on the second half of the year, big ups to the college student by the name of Jaron, who shot that three-pointer and won $100,000. For those of you that may have seen it or may have not seen it, but the during I believe it was during the intermission period of the NBA, in between the semifinal games in the NBA All-Star game, where Damian Lillard went up against a college student named Jaron, and the idea is that Jaren had to have so many shots for a chance to win $100,000. And Jaren went up against Damian Lillard. Jaren, with a little coaching from Shaquille O'Neal and Kenny Smith, knocks down a half court shot. He makes it. He wins the $100,000. And certainly that was clearly one of the few bright spots of the All-Star weekend. So congratulations to Jaren on winning the money. And certainly I know that's going to help him out in whatever he's trying to do in his life, continue, whether it be continuing in college or whether he wants to pursue, other endeavors and other career interests. All right, so the second half of the season is in full swing, and we got a lot of storylines. Can Cleveland continue to keep things going, continue this momentum going into the second half of the year? Will the defending champion Celtics catch them? What about the New York Knicks? And what about in the West? Will LeBron and Luka get it together where they can really make the run and move up to maybe third place, second place, or possibly first place in the West? Or will Oklahoma City continue their winning ways? What about Memphis? They're not to be played with neither. And what about Denver? And also the Houston Rockets are looking great as well as the Clippers, the Timberwolves, and even the Dallas Mavericks whenever Anthony Davis comes back from his injury. And what about Golden State? The recent acquisition of Jimmy Butler, now joining Steph and Draymond. How is that going to play out? What about Kevin Durant and the Phoenix Suns? Will they have enough juice to at least qualify for the play-in tournament? Only time will tell, man. But the second half of the NBA season is right here. And that's going to do it for another exciting edition of the program. Until next time, everybody, I'm Ed Robinson saying so long. You take care and enjoy the second half of the NBA season. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into the channel. Remember to click like, share, and subscribe. And thank you for watching.